I was filling my car at the gas station when I saw her for the first time. She was at the pump across from me, trying to figure out the card reader. She looked frustrated, tapping the screen. I walked over and showed her the trick you had to lift the handle first. She thanked me with a relieved smile. Her name was Anna. We didn't talk long, just enough to know she'd just moved to town. I saw her again the next week at the grocery store. We recognized each other and shared a laugh about the coincidence. She was buying what looked like ingredients for a pasta dish. I recommended the fresh basil from the local farmer's market. She seemed appreciative. We started running into each other more often. Turns out we lived in the same neighborhood. I'd see her walking her dog, a scruffy terrier named Milo, in the evenings. Sometimes I'd join her. Our walks became a routine. We talked about ordinary things like movies, the best route for avoiding traffic. She was a teacher at the elementary school. I worked in IT. I enjoyed her company. She was easy to be around, thoughtful, and had a dry sense of humor that always caught me off guard. I began to look forward to those walks. I'd find excuses to be outside at the same time. She never questioned it. Evening, it was getting dark earlier, and a cold picked up. She hadn't worn a jacket. Without a word, I offered mine. She hesitated, then took it. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. We kept walking, and she told me about a difficult day at school. I listened, really listened, and it felt good to be someone she could talk to. Small gestures started to mean more. She'd bring me a coffee if she saw my car in the driveway. I'd help her carry groceries. Once, she mentioned her favorite childhood book was out of print. I found its copy online and left it on her porch. She texted me a photo of it with a simple thank you. The smiley face emoji felt significant. The real shift happened one rainy Saturday. My power went out, and I texted her joking about living in the dark ages. She invited me over for board games. I went, and we spent the afternoon at her kitchen table, playing Scrabble and talking. Rain pattered against the windows. She told me stories about her family, about why she became a teacher. I shared things I hadn't talked about in years, my dream of writing a novel, my fear of never starting. She didn't offer empty reassurance, she just nodded, "I get that." Her understanding was a quiet comfort. As the evening wore on, we moved to the couch, still talking. Milo was curled up between us. The room was warm, lit by a few lamps. At one point, we both reached for the last cookie, and our hands brushed. We laughed, but the touch lingered. I looked at her, and she held my gaze for a second longer than usual. In that moment, everything felt still and full of potential. We didn't say anything about it. We just went back to talking, but the atmosphere had changed. It was softer, more charged. When I left later, she stood at the door and said, "See you tomorrow for a walk?" I nodded, feeling a warmth spread through me. Driving home, I realized how much I cared for her. It wasn't just friendship anymore. It was something deeper, something I wasn't ready to name but could feel growing with every shared silence, every glance, every small, kind gesture. The walks with Anna became the best part of my day. We didn't schedule them. It was just an unspoken agreement that around 7, one of us would text a question mark. The other would reply with a check mark or a clock emoji if we were running late. It felt comfortable, a routine that held a quiet promise. Milo would get excited the second I turned the corner, his tail a frantic metronome. Anna would smile, and that smile started to feel like something meant just for me. We started talking about more personal things. She told me about her previous relationship, a long one that had ended not with a bang but a slow, sad fading. I shared my own history, the couple of serious girlfriends who eventually, like mismatched puzzles. It wasn't a comparison or a competition in sadness. It was just two people explaining how they got here, to these nightly walks. The trust between us felt new and delicate, like a plant we were both watering without discussing its name. One Thursday, she texted me a photo of a broken shelf in her living room, along with a crying laughing emoji. I offered to fix it. That Saturday, I showed up with my toolbox. She was wearing an old band t-shirt and paint-stained jeans, her hair in a messy bun. She looked amazing. We spent the afternoon doing the simple repair and her reading the instructions aloud, even though I didn't need them. We listened to music, and she'd sometimes sing along under her breath. I'd catch myself watching her, the way she'd tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, the focused line of her brow. The feeling was a steady hum in my chest. After I fixed the shelf, she insisted on making me dinner as payment. We cooked together in her small kitchen, moving around each other with an easy rhythm. Our shoulders would brush. She'd hand me a spoon to taste the sauce. It was domestic and calm, and it felt terrifyingly right. We ate at the small table, and the conversation drifted to dreams. Not the big, loud ones, but the quiet, secret hopes. "Want to feel less afraid of getting things wrong," she said, pushing food around her plate. I understood exactly what she meant. Later, we were on the couch, and a documentary about the ocean was playing, but we weren't really watching. Milo was asleep on my feet. Anna was curled at the other end, a blanket over her legs. We were talking about nothing, a funny student story, a weird client I had. Then there was a lull. Not an awkward one, but a full, comfortable silence. She looked over at me, and her expression was soft, open. I felt a pull strong. It was physical, a need to reach over and close the space between us. But I didn't. The moment stretched, charged and still. She slowly extended her foot under the blanket and lightly nudged my leg. A small, silent connection. I smiled. She smiled back, then turned to the TV, where whales were the deep blue. My heart was beating hard, but the room had never felt more peaceful. We stayed like that until the credits rolled, connected by that single, quiet point of contact, and I knew I was in real trouble. The good kind things got busier. Anna had parent-teacher conference. I had a system migration that meant late nights at the office. Our walks became less frequent, reduced quick texts checking in. I missed them. I missed her. It was a dull, persistent ache I wasn't used to. I realized how much of my day rhythm had sensed to the expectation of seeing her. The quiet of my evenings felt heavier. Finally, on a Wednesday, my project wrapped up. I texted her, ? She replied instantly, ? And I have wine. She was already on the path when I got there, holding 2 plastic cups of red wine. She handed me one. "A walking happy hour," she said. We clinked cups awkwardly laughing. We walked our usual route. The conversation was different. It felt like catching up after a long trip. She told me about a difficult meeting with a student's parents. I vented about my stubborn boss. It was comfortable, but there was a new layer of care in how we listened, a deeper investment. The next Saturday, she asked if I wanted to help her choose a new couch. "I value your opinion," she said, and it like more than a furniture question. We spent the afternoon in a giant warehouse store, sitting on dozens of awful sofas, making up backstories for the other shoppers. It was silly and fun. In the car on the way home, tired and slightly delirious, we fell into a comfortable silence. At a stoplight, she reached over my air vent, which was pointed right at my face. "It was bothering me," she said softly. Her fingers were close to my shoulder. The gesture was so intimate, so casually thoughtful, it stole my breath. I just said thanks. That night, we ordered pizza at her place, sitting on the floor since her old couch was gone. We talked about future plans, not ours together, just in general. She wanted travel to Scotland. I wanted to learn how to bake proper bread. We should have a baking day, she suggested, and I agreed immediately, my heart doing a stupid little leap at the word we. As I was leaving, standing at her door, a sudden nervousness hit me. The easy camaraderie of the day condensed into this moment. I had a really good time today, I said, feeling the words were entirely insufficient. Me too. She was leaning against the door frame, looking up at me. The porch light was behind her, creating a halo in her hair. I wanted to kiss her. The desire was a clear, sharp thought. But the fear was fear of ruining this, of misreading a friendship that had become the most important thing in my life. So I didn't. I just smiled, probably a bit too tightly, and said goodnight. Walking home, I kicked myself. But a text came through from her. Thanks for the couch council. And the company, I replied. Time. I meant it more than I'd ever meant anything. The closeness was there, so real I could almost touch it. But it was guarded by a glass wall I was too afraid to break. The feeling was thrilling and terrifying, a quiet storming in the calm of our ordinary days. The new couch arrived. Anna texted me a picture of it in her living room, with Milo claiming the center cushion. It looks good. Mostly because it's not inside a warehouse, she replied, come break it in. Movie night? So, movie nights became our new routine. Every Friday, we'd turns choosing. It was never about the film, it was about the shared space. We'd sit on opposite ends of the couch, a bowl of popcorn between us. Sometimes our hands would meet in the bowl. We'd both pull back, then laugh. The distance on the couch felt like a tangible thing, a gap I was constantly aware of. One Friday, she chose a romantic comedy. It was full of the grand, unrealistic gestures we'd never talk about. During a particularly saccharine scene, she groaned and threw a piece of popcorn at the screen. Who even does that? Showing up at an airport with a boombox. You'd get arrested. I agreed, feeling oddly defensive of the silly movie because it was making me think of her. I think the small stuff is harder, I found myself saying. The everyday choosing to be there. She was quiet for a moment, then looked at me. Yeah, she said softly. It is. The movie kept playing, but I don't think either of us saw another minute of it. The following week she got sick. A bad spring cold. I dropped off soup and tissues on her porch. She texted, a voicage thick with congestion. You're a lifesaver. Hearing her voice, even stuffy and tired, made me want to take care of her. A few days later, she was better and insisted on repaying the favor with a home-cooked meal. She made lasagna from scratch. We ate at her small and she was glowing from the oven heat, or maybe just from being the again. I helped with the dishes, and she stood next to me drying. Our movements were synchronized. It felt profoundly normal, and that was the extraordinary part. After we were back on the couch, the tension was different, that quiet, palpable thing. We were sitting closer than usual. I could smell her shampoo. The move was some forgettabler, but my pulse was racing. She shifted, and her knee rested against mine. She didn't move it away. I didn't either. The contact was a line of heat through my jeans. I lost all track of the plot. When the movie ended, she stretched and her arm brushed across my shoulders. It was probably an accident, but it felt electric. She turned to me, tucking one leg underneath her. She said, "What did you think?" "I have no idea," I admitted, my voice a little rough. "I wasn't really watching." "Me neither," she whispered. The room was dark, lit only by the TV's screen. I could see her face, her eyes searching mine. This was the moment. My heart hammered against my ribs. All I had to do was lean forward. The words were right there. But the old fear clamped down, cold and familiar. What if I was wrong? What if this perfect, Fragile thing shattered. I saw the same hesitation flicker in her eyes. A slight withdrawal, a nervous bite of her lip. The moment passed, receding like a wave. The chance was gone. We both let out a breath we'd been holding. I should probably go, I said, my voice regrettably normal. Yeah, she nodded, a faint, unsure smile on her lips. Big day tomorrow. At the door, the usual goodnight felt loaded. Thanks for the movie, I said. Anytime, she replied. Her hand touched my arm just briefly. Good night, Mark. Walking home, the cool air did nothing to calm the turmoil inside me. The almost moment replayed on a loop. The warmth of her knee against mine, the look in her eyes. I had felt it, the mutual pull, the possibility, and I had frozen. But for the first time, the regret was mixed with a fragile, blooming hope. Because I was almost certain she had felt it too. The quiet between us was no longer just comfortable. It was waiting to be filled. The following week was a strange dance. We still texted, still had our movie night, but the air was different. The unspoken moment on the couch was a third presence with us. We were careful, polite, a little too considerate. It was awful. I missed our easy comfort. I realized that by being afraid of losing what we had, I was already losing it. The silence wasn't comfortable anymore. It was full of words we weren't saying. On Thursday, she texted that Milo was sick. The vet appointment had stressed her out. I went over that evening. She opened the door looking exhausted, worried on her face. Milo was curled on a blanket, looking sorry for himself. We sat on the floor beside him, not talking much, just keeping vigil. Her hand was resting near mine on the blanket. After a while, my pinky finger edged over and hooked gently around hers. A tiny, undeniable connection. She didn't pull away. She let out a slow, shaky breath and turned her hand to interlace her fingers with mine. My heart felt too big for my chest. I've been scared, she said quietly, not looking at me, focusing on Milo. Me too, I said. Of what? Of this. Of messing up the best thing in my life. She finally looked at me, her eyes glistening. Exactly. We sat like that for a long time, holding hands on the floor, watching her dog sleep. It was the most intimate moment we'd ever shared, and it involved no grand speeches, just a simple, silent agreement in the touch of our hands. The next day was our usual walk. It felt like a first date and the 100th date all at once. The tension was gone, replaced by a new, thrilling clarity. We walked the familiar path, but everything seemed brighter. When we reached the park, we stopped by our usual bench. Instead of sitting, she turned to me. I need to say something, she began, her voice steady but soft. I tried to ignore it, to just be friends. But I can't. The way I feel about it's not just friendly. It hasn't for a while. She took a breath, vulnerable and brave. I think about you all the time. I save stories from my day to tell you. Your coffee order is etched in mine. I feel safe with you. And happy, and I'm in love with you. I just needed you to know. Her words hung in the air, sincere and simple. They weren't a performance. They were a gift and a risk. My throat was tight. All my own carefully planned confessions evaporated. I reached for her hands. Anna, I said, my voice rough with emotion. You are the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing at night. My favorite part of every day is seeing you, whether it's for a walk or just a text. I love the life we've built in these small, ordinary moments. And I am so deeply, completely in love with you. It's the truest thing I know. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but she was smiling, radiant, relieved smile. Cupped my hands, wiping a tear away with my thumb. I leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull back. She didn't. She met me halfway. The kiss was not a movie kiss. It was gentle, a little unsure, perfectly human. It felt less like a beginning and more like a homecoming. When we parted, she rested her head against mine, and we just stood there, in the middle of the ordinary park, breathing each other in. Milo, now perfectly healthy, tugged on his leash, impatient to move. We laughed, a sound full of joy and future. We started walking again, hand in hand, our fingers intertwined like they were meant to be. The path ahead was the same, but everything was beautifully, wonderfully different.